The FBI characterizes a serial killer as an individual who has various degrees of a personality disorder who unlawfully kills two or more individuals at different times. There are various mechanisms used when attempting to identify these subjects and the manner in which they are classified. A killer could be identified as mission-oriented, hedonistic, a visionary killer, or various other typologies. Yet regardless of their classification, all serial killers are similar in one important way. For the past number of decades, the fundamental model for creating a profile for a serial killer has been based off of the level of conscientiousness the killer demonstrates while on the crime scene. The two main typologies in this model are classified as organized and disorganized killers. Although this dichotomous model has been empirically unreliable, it is still a commonly used system when attempting to profile a serial killer. The organized serial killer is often associated with having a higher IQ than the disorganized serial killer, though this is not always the case. Due to the logistical impossibility of crime scene observation, an organized serial killer's organization and intelligence must be observed through IQ tests and visible intelligence upon interview. And that brings us to our first example. American necrophilic serial killer Ed Kemper was active in the early 1970s and had a victim count of 10 people. He is considered highly intelligent and was found to have an IQ of 136 during adulthood. This score is considered rather high, being 2.4 standard deviations above the mean. Kemper has given a number of interviews since his incarceration and has spoken about his antisocial behaviors.
There are periods in when kids go through very violent development into, potentially violent. They break things, they steal things, they lie, they go through these changes. Yet I've had these people, one or two doctors in particular who I won't go into, who very casually just slapped all these assignations on her and said, well, of course, if you run into a kid that's doing this kind of thing, you got a developing serial killer, you better put him in treatment real quick and save his life, right? To a point, I agree with them that someone who's acting out and has a dysfunctional childhood or has just gone through a dysfunctional childhood and hasn't gotten violent yet or is heading toward that direction, passive-aggressive. Violence was the last thing I exhibited, and then it was murderous violence. Okay? So sure, there's a lot of value in getting youngsters like that help to where they can find themselves and they can find value in themselves and they can find value in interacting with others, and they go in a different direction than what I did. The psychiatrists and psychologists I deal with are in a prison setting. They're there 8 hours a day. They have to deal with me every day. If I am their patient and I screw up, they can kiss their job and goodbye. They're going to be a lot of hell on them for not seeing this in advance and saying, oh, we should lock him up. He might be violent.
Kemper is observably intelligent by the way he can conceptualize and express himself articulately. This characteristic falls in line with the above-average intelligence and socially competent aspects of the organized serial killer profile. Lexical knowledge, or vocabulary, has been known to be correlated with an individual's working memory. A fluid working memory is generally indicative of higher intelligence. In contrast to the antisocial behavior of his past, this impression of Kemper challenges the fact that he is cold, calculated, and dangerous.
Did you feel you had to kill her?
That was an outburst. It wasn't felt I had to. I went up there hoping. I didn't go there for one thing. I got left there. We went there for Christmas from my father's in L.A. To go to the basement.
And what were those morbid games that you played with your sister?
Okay. Well, the one I remember.
It is indisputable that Kemper appears controlled and calculated. However, certain behaviors cannot be concealed. Involuntary behaviors are based on the pairing of stimuli and a physiologically significant event which is triggered on the body. Responses such as staring, distancing oneself from an uncomfortable situation, and rapid breathing are a few examples of reflexes automatically elicited by the brain's limbic system in response to the appropriate stimuli. These events are what we then recognize as nonverbal communication. The sudden covering of the eyes with the hand or fingers is referred to as a blocking behavior. This behavior is often a response to undesirable emotions, a lack of confidence, or worry. There's also a behavior that has been observed when an individual has been caught doing something wrong. Evidence of congenitally blind children exhibiting this behavior is noted in research, though the reason why it's elicited is not understood. It is believed this behavior has an ancient evolutionary purpose. As the interviewer asked Kemper about the morbid games that played a formative part in his antisocial behaviors, we can see the blocking behavior occur. This could be for a number of reasons. It can also be assumed that there was some level of shame or guilt that is associated with this memory. Much like the inability to conceal nonverbal behavior, the impulse to act on certain desires like killing is too great to avoid. For serial killers both organized and disorganized, killing is often an impulsive drive which can only be satiated by acting on their urges. At some point, the reward of the last murder becomes so great that the latency period during which serial killers' urges are satiated shortens dramatically, causing the compulsory desire to kill to return more rapidly. When behavioral contrast is conducted on lab rats searching for food in a controlled setting, the running speed of the rat is proportional to the size of the reward it obtained on the previous trial. The greater the reward that was given to it last time upon completion of the task, the faster it will run when attempting to complete the same task. Because most serial killers tend to have impulsive tendencies associated with personality disorders, such as antisocial personality disorder, the impulse to kill becoming too great of a reinforcer eventually leads the serial killer to act on his impulses and slip up only to get caught, even if the killer was extremely organized. Thank you for watching this video on the organized serial killer. This is in human form, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit subscribe and share this video with your friends.